Hello there.
Welcome to Big Flick Energy. November has always been a month we all know for the holiday of Thanksgiving. It's a day where we give thanks for those around us, and just for being fortunate enough to be able to enjoy a Thanksgiving meal. This year, though, Disney fans had another date to look forward to in November, Disney Plus Day. About 2 weeks ago, Disney had a day of new releases and future teases, which made some fans excited and some fans kind of disappointed. Today, I'm going to go over some of the biggest things to come out of Disney Plus Day, separated into animated content, LucasFilm, Marvel, and some isolated stuff. Also, I just wanted to say I made this video before episode 3 of Hawkeye came out, so whatever happens at that episode, I do not talk about at all when I mention Hawkeye in this. So, here we go.
Come on, everybody, here we go!
Let's start this off with Lucasfilm. I decided to make this section Lucasfilm and not just Star Wars because all announcements made by Disney about Star Wars have been during Lucasfilm sections of events that also includes the likes of Indiana Jones and Willow. So the first project to talk about is actually Willow. I've never seen the movie, but I'm sure I'll get around to it before the sequel TV series comes out in 2022. For a little taste of what the film is and the type of show this will be, the intro synopsis for the film goes as follows. Enter the world of Willow. Journey to the far corners of your imagination, to a land of myth and magic, where dream and reality live side by side, to a place that never existed, a time that never was. It is a world where a young man named Willow lives out an adventure that explodes beyond the boundaries of his own hopes and fears. So this seems like a fun universe that I'm sure has a ton of world building potential, given George Lucas is the mastermind behind it. So I'm looking forward to the show. Next up, we have the Book of Boba Fett. Now they didn't actually talk about this one for Disney Plus Day, but they released a trailer for it about a week or two before. So this is a good opportunity for me to talk about it. The trailer shows Boba Fett as taking on a new role as a crime boss in the place of Jabba the Hutt, versus his former role as a bounty hunter. I like this adjustment as it separates The Mandalorian from this show, and it also gives an opening to being a continuation of some plot lines we saw in Solo: A Star Wars Story, since it was a film very much about the crime underworld, where perhaps we will see the likes of Kira, Lando, and maybe even Han Solo again in this show. With a new show about Lando in the works, maybe this teases what that show will be about if they choose to bring him in this show. Next up, we have Ahsoka. While we didn't actually get any news from Disney Plus Day about this show either, a couple of days after, we heard Ivana Sakno was being casted in an unspecified role, and Natasha Liu Bordizzo was given the role of Sabine Wren. This makes it pretty obvious, if it wasn't obvious already, the show will focus on Ahsoka's journey to find Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra Bridger, who we last knew to be in the outer skirts of the Outer Rim. Lastly, we have Obi-Wan. This is the show I'm the most excited for, but what Disney Plus Day gave us was just a short documentary with some artwork about the show. I honestly expected so much more from this section. It was great to know we'll have that Vader Obi-Wan rematch, but we kind of knew that already. The only thing that seemed interesting to me was that they showed 2 images which looked to be off-world of Tatooine, but outside of that, this was a very underwhelming section. And honestly, I would say the entire Lucasfilm section was pretty underwhelming, considering how many projects we know are coming our way, and the fact they only spoke about one of those projects, which is kind of sad. Next up, we have some of the other content that doesn't really fit into one specific category. First up, we have the Spiderwick Chronicles. So I never read the books, and I never saw the 2008 film, which is actually not related in any way to this new TV show. But it does seem pretty interesting, and for a book to have already had 2 separate attempts to bringing it to live action, since the first book being written in 2003, there must be something here that could be an incredible world to explore in live action. Since I don't know much about it though, here's a short synopsis of the books. The books feature 3 Grace children, Jared, Simon, and Mallory, who find a mysterious field guide hidden in the attic written by their great-great-uncle, Arthur Spiderwick, who studied fairies, magical beings who hide themselves from humans using a type of magic called glamour. Soon the children get involved in this invisible world and have to defend the field guide from the evil, shape-shifting Ogre Mulgarath and his army of goblins. It sounds like it could be a fun story to see. I personally think it's a story that would be done better animated, but I'm so excited to see how this show could turn out in live action. Next up, we have Sneakerella. I'm not going to talk about this movie at all, but just...
What the hell is even that?
may be the ugliest sneaker I've ever seen. And I have seen plenty of Shaquille O'Neal sneakers. But this sneaker is just, it's ridiculous. I know I said I'm not going to talk about this movie, but just why? What is going on with Disney? I just don't know what to say. But you know what? Look, enough with whatever this film is. The next project is one that came out on Disney Plus Day, Home Sweet Home Alone. This is a sequel to Home Alone, and I'm pretty sad to say it apparently did not pan out well at all. I haven't seen it, but I have only heard bad things about it, which is frustrating because I love the cast and felt as if a company like Disney could do wonders with this film. But I guess I was wrong. I'll still definitely check it out though when we get closer to Christmas and I get to watch all the Home Alone films back to back. So next up, we have Pinocchio. So this is going to be a live action retelling of the story of Pinocchio, and it is going to be starring Tom Hanks, Cynthia Erivo, and Luke Evans. So this makes me pretty excited, especially having Tom Hanks in it. It's a very big name, and he's a great actor. So it has me excited to see this. The only problem is I kind of fear that they're going to do what they've done with some of the live action projects, where it's just going to be a complete copy, but with actual humans in it instead of it being animated. So that kind of scares me. I would prefer that it's more like a Cruella, or what they're planning on doing with the Lion King prequel, or Maleficent. So I feel like that's a better path to go down, but I feel like they're going to go down the path of just copying. And now, the last project in this group is Prey. So Prey is basically going to be a prequel to all of the Predator movies, and I think that's such an intelligent name to use, where Predator always focuses on that character of Predator. And this film is known to focus more on the person that's running away from the Predator, which is the prey. So it's pretty interesting to see that. And basically it's going to be during the 1700s, and it's going to follow a Native American female who basically has to escape from this Predator. And it's apparently the first time Predator ever came to Earth. So I'm really excited to see this movie. I have to catch up with some of the Predator and the Alien movies, but I'm definitely going to check this one out. Our next section is animation. This includes all new content from Pixar, Disney Animation, BlueSky, and more. Also, I know it's not called BlueSky anymore, but I'm going to keep on calling it that because that's how I've always known it to be, so why not? So first up, we have Cars on the Road. This show is about Lightning McQueen and Mater on a cross-country road trip. Based on some of the artwork they showed us, like what may be Native American-inspired cars, and also dinosaur trucks, it looks more like a time travel sort of thing. Or maybe while on the road trip, the main characters tell about their family's past, and that's why it looks like it takes place in the past. Either way, I'm kind of excited for this show. Next up, we have Baymax. We got a trailer for this show that gives us a good idea of the plot of the show. It looks like it's going to focus a lot on Baymax's intended purpose, a personal, healthcare, companion. Focusing so much on him will give this show a good sense of humor, given Baymax's innocence as seen in the trailer, but the show seems kind of basic and kind of like it'll be repetitive to me. I was hoping for a more hero-centric show, but I guess we'll have to settle with this. So the next project to talk about is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So this is kind of gonna focus on these beloved characters, Chip and Dale, that we really haven't seen for a long time. And I'm not too excited, but the voice casting has me pretty excited, actually. So you have John Mulaney, who is actually hilarious, and Andy Samberg, that I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I love him in that. So just having those two people in this makes me pretty excited. I'm not excited about the storyline at all, but to have these people voicing the characters makes me want to see it. The next project is Win or Lose, a TV show which tells the story of a baseball game, each episode focusing on a different character's perspective of that same game. It seems like a pretty interesting concept, so I'll definitely check it out, but I'm just not sure how watchable a full season of this could be, since it's the same episode over and over again. Next, we have Ciao Alberto, which is a sequel short film to Luca. If you watch Luca, you'll like this a lot. It was nice to see these characters again, and I really enjoyed watching this. Next up, we've got Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm not 100% sure if this was spoken about on Disney Plus Day, but it is coming out on December 3rd on Disney Plus, and there is a trailer out, so I thought I would include it. This movie will pretty much just be the same as the first book and the same as the live-action films. It's kind of obvious this is the case, since we know we're getting a Roderick Rules sequel, meaning the storytelling format will be the same as the other renditions of this universe. I'm excited to watch it though, since I watched all the movies and I had all the books. Next, we have Tiana. This TV show follows the events of The Princess and the Frog. We know very little about the show, but we do know it will show Tiana having adventures beyond New Orleans. I actually never saw the film, but it seems like a show that a lot of people will want to check out. Next, we've got Olaf Presents. This is a short series where Olaf from Frozen just recaps a ton of random animated Disney films. I actually really enjoyed it and laughed a lot when I watched it. The next project is The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. This TV show is pretty popular back in the early 2000s. I remember watching it and laughing at it, so I am kind of curious to see if it still has the same magic as it did when I was younger, so I'll check it out. Lastly, we have The Ice Age, Adventures of Buck Wild. We got a trailer for this film, and while it looks like it'll be fun, it does seem like a dip in quality from the previous films. For one, the main protagonists of the previous films will be nothing more than cameos in this film, so our new leads are characters we're only slightly attached to at this point. Second off, the animation quality doesn't look good. It somehow looks worse than the first Ice Age, which had this kid be the main plot of the film. I will watch this film, since it's a franchise I've watched all the films of, and hopefully it surprises me, but I don't necessarily have the highest hopes for it. For the last category, and probably the best category based on what we got the most info about, we have Marvel. Let's start off with Armor Wars. All we got was a reminder this show is coming out, so basically this show will star War Machine as Tony Stark's suits of armor get into the wrong hands. So it's time for Tony to create even more MCU villains. This show is also rumored to include IronHeart in it, a character that will be getting her own show as well. IronHeart follows the inventor of the most advanced suit of armor since the Iron Man armor was built by Tony Stark. Next up, we have Miss Marvel. This show follows the origins of a teenage girl as she gets her abilities. For this show, we got a teaser trailer which didn't reveal much, but gave us some looks at Ms. Marvel's updated powers and costumes. So I say updated powers because in the comics, she's traditionally known to have these powers called Embiggen, which basically she stretches out her body in a very similar way to Mr. Fantastic or Elastigirl, but they're changing it for the show to make it more similar to Green Lantern. They probably did this because they're going to bring in Mr. Fantastic to the MCU, and they don't want two characters that are so similar. So Ms. Marvel is also expected to appear in the film The Marvels, which will also star Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, who, if you remember correctly, was told by a Skrull at the end of WandaVision that Nick Fury wanted to see her on a space station, which actually leads perfectly into the next show, Secret Invasion. So this show follows the Secret Invasion storyline from the comics, where it turns out a ton of the characters we've been following for a while have actually been Skrulls in disguise. For this show, we got our first look at Nick Fury, where he is no longer rocking the eye patch. Next up, we have She-Hulk. This show follows the cousin of Bruce Banner as she becomes her own version of Hulk. For this show, we got a teaser trailer which revealed a little bit of how She-Hulk will look in the show and gave us a Professor Hulk cameo. Another show we got a trailer for was Moon Knight. This show follows a character who is given abilities by a magician moon god and is known as the Batman of Marvel by fans. But we do not know if everything about this character being a hero is going on in his head, or if he's actually fighting in this massive world of heroes. He is known to have mental illness, which makes it seem like it could be fake, but we'll just have to wait and see the show. The next show to talk about is Marvel Zombies. This show followed the events of What If Season 1 episode following a zombie apocalypse on Earth. This episode ended with a zombie Thanos trying to get the 6th Infinity Stone, as he already had 5 in this universe. We are actually also getting a What If Season 2, which will apparently create new stories, some based on what has happened this far in Phase 4, while others could be older original stories or sequels to Season 1 stories. Another animated show we got a mention of was I Am Groot, which we pretty much only got a mention of and nothing else. An animated show I'm extremely excited for, though, which we got revealed for the first time at Disney Plus Day, is Spider-Man Freshman Year. This show will follow Peter Parker's origins in the MCU. This is something I've always wanted to see in the MCU, just because I feel like MCU Peter has gone so far away from what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. So to see them go back to his roots will be incredible, and I'm so excited for the show. So another Marvel show we'll be getting is X-Men 97. So recently we've had some similar situations to this with the Clone Wars and Young Justice, which have been shows that a ton of fans wanted to be revived, and those two got revived. And now, X-Men 97 is getting revived. So this is probably going to be more similar to Young Justice than it is to Clone Wars, where Clone Wars was one final season just to close everything off, and then they could continue the story with other shows like The Bad Batch and things like that. While this show is going to be more similar to Young Justice, where Young Justice, it had an extra season, but it's still continuing. Now they're just making more and more content for it. So I'm really excited for this one. I'm definitely gonna try to watch it. And who knows, maybe this can lead into a revival for shows like Spectacular Spider-Man that have major fan bases. So I'm looking forward to this, and I really hope it pays off. Next up, we have Hawkeye. We didn't get much out of Disney Plus Day from this show, but the first 2 episodes have already come out, and I decided to just talk about it now. I like the tone of the show, and it kind of reminded me of Spider-Man PS4 side quest for some odd reason, but something that disappoints me about the show is I really wish the fight scenes were better. They seem kind of bland and not as cool as they should be given who these characters are. Hopefully this changes though with the introduction of Echo at the end of episode 2, and what I expect to be her inclusion in a good part of the remainder of the season. Matter of fact, we actually have a show about Echo coming to Disney+. This show follows the character of Echo, the daughter of Kingpin, and is rumored to be the pathway show for the Marvel Netflix shows to be revived, especially for Daredevil and Punisher. This show was officially announced for the first time on Disney Plus Day. Another show announced for the first time was Agatha, House of Harkness, which will follow Agatha Harkness, the beloved antagonist from WandaVision. She's a fun character, but I'm not sure how much of a story she has to tell in a solo project. It would be cool to see a character like Mordo be the main antagonist, since it seemed like he was going to be the main antagonist of Doctor Strange 2, but it feels like that movie is going in a much larger direction, so seeing him here could be interesting. Or maybe even Senor Scratchy, who we know was supposed to be a demon in a WandaVision episode, but because of COVID, they couldn't film that episode, so maybe that demon comes alive and plays the antagonist in this show. I am excited for this show, just because I have no idea where it could go. So while Disney has a lot planned and we got a lot of teases, this event kind of shows how spoiled we are, given I'm personally disappointed with the announcements because of how little we got from Star Wars. Honestly, I think my disappointment is in part due to how much we got from DC fandom. These are two events I've been comparing for a while, and I think fandom won this year. The amount of trailers and interesting content we got at fandom really made it feel like an event, especially since it was very well structured as a 4-hour website special, while Disney Plus Day was anything but organized, with certain reveals going to Disney Plus in separate videos, and others going straight to Twitter. So it was a very strange and disorganized event that needs improvement for next year. I'm excited for everything Disney has to offer, but I still think this event left a lot of people disappointed. I am still looking forward to all these shows and movies though, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and tune in next time to Big Flick Energy.